So then here we are for round 8 of the Core Racing GT3 League. This week we are at Barcelona Grand Prix circuit up in sunny Spain. Temperatures are going to be very high here, so we will have to see whether tyre wear comes into play during the race, as we are currently in the qualifying session. As you see, Michael Kerber's getting the rear end out, unfortunately slightly hitting the wall, so he's gone back to the pits. That's unfortunate for him. It's going to be definitely a hard one to get your setup right, as it is a very fast track, especially with that very long back straight. As you see, Eric Rotterdink, he's currently the leader of the entire pack, so he'll be the first one to set a qualifying lap in his orange, white and black GTR. He's currently sitting second with a 1:52.9. However, I'm sure all these times will change, as most drivers have gone out for their out lap. As you see, really flicking the car into the right to try and get that weight transfer into that very sharp left-hander, using a lot of curb through the second long right-hander and down into the very tight twisty section before the long straight. Hard on the brakes into the very, very tight chicane. Gets it nicely through there, down for the run to the line. What lap time will we see from Eric? A 1:47.999, as it looks like a McLaren is coming up behind him, and that's Jeffrey going provisional pole with a 1:46. Yeah, it was a 1:46.422. However, drivers are coming piling in. Peo currently your pole with a 1:45.769. I believe he is driving the McLaren this week, which he is. Ross currently sitting in second with a 1:46.012. See, we'll definitely be seeing around the 1:45s and 1:46s in terms of qualifying pace. As you see here, Darren Adams, he's sitting in P5 after not a very good qualifying result last week at Monza. However, he is further up the grid now. He definitely seems to be a lot more comfortable with the car and is able to push for faster lap times. See Peo on his out lap. Doesn't look like we've got many new drivers this week. Unfortunately, we've only got 18 drivers competing. Couldn't think of the word. Competing this week in the GT3 League. See Ross coming through the slow left-hander before the left and the long right. Very long sweeping corner. Very easy to run wide on the exit. He's getting it nice and clean, making sure you don't clip that inside sausage curve, as it can really unsettle the curb, and the same for this chicane, which will ruin your run down the very long pit straight. Will he be able to make it a pole position? He only needs to lose 3/10 of his last lap, which he is not. He's still sitting in P2 with a 1:46.012. Jeffrey's into the pits down. That's Luca, sorry. He's now coming across the pit straight. As well as this three bunch of cars, will we see anyone jump around? Jeffrey is up in position. Darren Adams is down in P6. Itamar Yativ in the McLaren again. He's in P5, so he's looking very comfortable this week. Martin Palm in the Z4. He's fourth currently, and he's just been punted down by Marcy, who's in the McLaren this week. As you see, Hines is really using all the track. Actually, he's getting out of the way. Great sportsmanlike by him. Janko, he's in the Mercedes this week. He was in the Lamborghini, I believe. However, he's opting for the AMG this week after missing last week. So we'll have to see whether he can get back into the rhythm and potentially have learnt that AMG. Peo, still your pole sitter with a 1:45.769, a very quick lap by him. Matteo Santini, he's sitting in the pits. He was your last race winner at Monza, and he also won at Imola, so that's 2 race victories to his name. You see Martin Palm in a slight bit of traffic from a Ferrari up in front, and he's got Janko just behind him as well. Martin Palm only got to gain about 2/10 in order to get into the top 5. Gets it nicely through that right hander, looks for a later apex using all the exit he can. Will he maybe get held up by the Ferrari through this chicane? Looks like he is slightly. And he's dived into the pits. So obviously didn't gain enough on that last lap. See a lot of drivers actually on their out lap now. And Jeffrey, actually I believe that was Janko, he comes up into 4th place. Very strong lap by him. So he seems to be very comfortable with that Mercedes. He may have missed last week due to maybe getting used to the car, however it's certainly paid off. And just as I say that, he clipped the inside curb and he's around and now is pointing to the wall. Thankfully he didn't do that in the race and not on his flying lap. You see Ross coming nicely through the chicane. Coming down into this sharp left-hander. Gets it nicely stopped. You can see the front brake discs lighting red hot. Really having to work the brakes. Are very heavy braking zones around here, as it's such a fast circuit in terms of a straight line. Gets it nicely flicked in. Very close to that inside apex. Gets it flicked in for the left and the right of the final chicane. Looks like it was a little out of shake mid-corner, however he managed to hold it through the final corner. Will he go into pole position? He does go faster, however isn't fast enough to keep up with Peo, who's currently a pole sitter. You see Martin Palm now coming in out of the pits. Jeffrey through the final turn. Michael Curver's also coming across the line. He's down in P9. He doesn't seem to be very comfortable. He's didn't have a very good race at Mugello or a very good race at Monza either. So something may be up with that car, as he just does not seem to be able to hold the same amount of pace he has had earlier in the season. See, he's sitting in P9 in that yellow Ferrari. Itamar Yativ, he's been punted down to P9. Not the best qualifying result, but certainly not the worst for him so far. Costi, he's up in P12. He's been having not very lucky races recently, dipping the wheel slightly on the grass, you see, as he flicks it into the very fast right-hander. He hasn't been having the best of races, not the best at Mugello or at Monza last week. However, he is sitting in 12th position at the moment in this qualifying session, as we have 4 minutes 30 left of the session. Luca coming into turn 1, he's sitting in P11 with a 146.986, and that's Matteo. He's gone into P2, so now he's on the front row of the grid. He just lapped a 45.763, a very good lap by him. He's certainly been showing quite a lot of pace in that black Lamborghini. He's certainly a contender to keep an eye out for. Jeffrey in the McLaren gets it nicely through the chicane, through the final turn. Will he be able to gain any positions? He's up into P3, so that puts Ross down into 4th place, and Michael Curvers actually got up into P6 as we saw Jeffrey come across the line, so that's a very strong lap by him. Janko on his out lap in the Mercedes, as that's a BMW going very wide through there. He may have had a bit of mechanical damage. We'll have to see whether that will factor into his race. Martin Palm sitting comfortably in his Z4, currently in P10. He had a very good strong start of the season, however he hasn't been able to round it out in this penultimate round at Barcelona. See, you can can really see the car bumping about on this bumpy road surface. Peo coming around the final turn. We will hop on board for a lap around this very hot circuit in Spain. Up into 6th gear. And it looks like he has abandoned his lap, so he won't ride on board. Matteo, however, he's now coming across the line. He does go with a 1:45.522 and backs out of his next lap as well. Ross coming through the final chicane. He only needs to gain 0.17 of a second to take that 3rd position. See quite an aerial shot there. You see him come across the line. No, he's not able to improve. Matteo now coming out of the pits. Michael Curvers is now coming across the line, and he goes up into 4th, so he's out-qualified Ross, and he just seems to be getting faster and faster. So you can really see those brake discs glow. See, really fighting with the rear of the car through that slight acceleration before this very long right-hander, and he backs out of his lap. Jeffrey off on the edge of the track, very easy to do through there, very easy to run wide, as he's run wide again through the second long right-hander. So he comes down into the chicane, getting it stopped very early. Not sure what he's doing. However, we will hop on board with a GoPro shot from the front of his helmet. This is essentially what he is seeing in the car. Comes across the line for his flying lap. As you see, a really long run down this long straight. Most cars going to be topping out 6th gear, hard on the brakes at the 100-meter board. Down into 3rd gear, making sure you don't use too much apex, as it can really unsettle the car, and the same for that 2nd apex. A lot of drivers going to take different lines. Some like to favour the inside and run out wide on the exit, and some likes to run in wide on the entry and cut in for the cutback. As you see, hard on the brakes just before he reaches the bridge for this long right-hander. Down into the wrong before the quite tight left-hander, which can be very easy to run wide if you get on the power too early, which he is able to nail perfectly. Down into the run before this chicane, another corner which you can run wide very easily on. As you see, using all this apex on the second half of that corner, flicking it in for this long right-hander. You have to really hope and make sure you don't run wide, as that's qualifying now ticking over. So all the drivers with the checkered flag next to their name will not get another lap. We'll have to see whether the grid will change in time for the race. Darren Adams in P10 currently, as you see Jeffrey through the long right-hander down into the very tight right-hander before the chicane, slightly far off the apex, and he backs out of his lap. See a lot of drivers finishing their flying laps. Looks like Peo was looking to get some medium stint practice. As you see Matteo coming through the long right-hander before the very long straight. The Lamborghini going to be strong in a straight line here with that beast of a V10. You can really hear it scream as he comes through the left-hander, really using all the exit there, really trying to push the car to get that pole position from Peo. As you see, really sliding the car on the exit. That may have potentially cost his flying lap. However, he is really pushing the car and really giving a show to all the spectators in the crowd as he rounds the final turn. It's Janko, he comes across the line, he's still sitting in P7. Will Matteo, no, he backs out just before the line. Itamar Yativ, he's not able to improve either. Ross coming through the final turn, only 0.03 of a second separating him and Michael Curvers. Will he be able to improve? Yes, he goes pole position with a 1:45.418. What a lap by him. That means he is your pole position with Peo just behind Matteo and Jeffrey in row 2, Michael and Marcy in row 3, Itamar and Janko row 4, Palm and Darren Adams row 5, Jamie and Luca in row 6, Jeffrey and Costi in row 7, Hines and Eric in row 8, Chris Thorpe and Paul McLeod in row 9. So we will cut to a quick advert break before the start of round 8 at Barcelona. So we are back after that quick advert break, and we're gonna have a little bit of a look at the table whilst the drivers go out for their warm-up lap. As we have a look, looks like your top three drivers are all sitting in the same place as last week. However, it looks like Peo has managed to overtake Michael Curvis, so he's now up into the top 5. As you see, Darren Adams still sitting in P9. So we have a look at the team standings. As you see, NLR with Thrustmaster still your race leaders, as it looks like a lot of the teams are still sitting in the same place as they were before. As we come back to the race, we have 8 seconds left. 5 seconds, the red lights begin to turn on, the engine notes begin to rise. And they are out. The driver's getting off to a nice and clean start. What a great start by Itamar, jumping Michael Curvers. What a brilliant start by him as they all come piling down into turn 1, coming side by side. See, a lot of drivers go. As they come on down into the long right-hander, Itamar managing to gain quite a few places. What a great start by him on Michael Covers, as it looks like Michael has been punted really far down the order. Not the best start by him. As they come on down into the third right-hander around this circuit. If we come on back to the battle, Jeffrey going around the outside of Itamar. They are side by side as they come on down into the left-right section before the run up the hill. They are still by side. Itamar going to have the inside. However, Jeffrey is managing to get around the outside, which he does. What a move by Jeffrey. As Itamar will now come under pressure from Janko. However, Janko has backed off a bit. Ross managing to jump. Managing to jump Ross in this opening lap. Matteo going defensive. However, he has run slightly deep, and that has allowed Marcy to come up the inside. And a bit of contact there between Itamar and Jeffrey, as it looks like Darren Adams is able to get up the inside of Itamar as well, so that's a good start by him. As you see, his teammate Luca just behind him, so that is an Apex Predator Racing sandwich for Itamar, and that's Marcy off. He's off on the infield, so it's really shaken up the opening lap. See, they all come piling down. Not the best start by Michael Curvers again. He has been not having the best of luck so far in this season. See, Peo is currently your race leader, being followed by Ross, and they've managed to gain a bit of a gap to Matteo. Darren Adams and Jeffrey going side by side. Darren Adams up the inside, and he manages to make the move down, as well as Luca goes round the outside of Itamar. Quite a hectic battle first lap so far, and that's Hines behind Itamar as well, so this is a three-way Apex Predator Racing sandwich with Darren up in front, Jeffrey just behind him, Luca behind him, Itamar behind him and Hines behind him, as it looks like Costi is looking for a move up the inside of Jeffrey Langerek in the Porsche. Costi getting past nice and cleanly. Yes, he can. So he's now into the top 10 as we come on back to Itamar Yativ. He's now looking for a move up the inside of Luca, however not being close enough to get up properly alongside to make a move into this left-hander. Really hectic first battle, a real shuffle of positions, as this is currently a 6, 7, 8 car battle. As it looks like Luca is also catching up to the back of Jeffrey. As you see the long stream of cars, Itamar now looking for a move up the inside. He isn't able to make it done, does use a lot of inside apex, that may allow Hines to get past. Hines not being able to capitalise on Itamar's slight mistake. Luca still on the back of Jeffrey, not letting him get at too much of a gap. As it looks like Hines has unfortunately made a mistake, and he has been punted right down the order to P18. That is unfortunate for him, he was running quite well. Eric on the back of Michael Curvers. 0.4 seconds separating them, as we are only on our second lap, and it is already proven to be a very close race. This is a really key race, as there's only 2 more rounds left in the season, so drivers will be scrabbling for every little last point they possibly can. As that's Costi also being punted down the order. He's off in the distance there, as you saw. That's unfortunate for him. We've been seeing multiple mistakes. Marcy now right on the back of Chris Thorpe, as Chris is now going to find defensive. Marcy gets cleanly round the outside. Nice move by him. Takes that position comfortably. As we come back to your race leader of Peo. He's managed to gain about a second lead over Ross. Very close battle currently on track. We come to Luca. Sitting comfortably on the back of that McLaren. Janko closing up very closely to the back of Matteo, your last race winner at Monza. However, Janko not being able to get past. Running really wide. The stewards will definitely have something to say about that. Luca also right on the back of Jeffrey. You see the battles are closing up on the scoreboard on the left. Michael Curvers and Eric Rotterding. Eric managing to get past Michael, so he's up into P10, and he's also looking to get past Jeffrey up in front in that black, white and orange Porsche. Just a couple of tenths separating the two. As we come to Janko and Matteo. Will Janko look for a move into turn 1? No, he doesn't. He's still sitting in the P4. Marcy on the back of Paul McLeod now, the second driver in DZ Racing. He looks to make a move right round the outside. He's not going to be able to get it done in turn 2. However, has got an exceptional run into turn 3. Paul driving quite exceptionally defensively. He's managing to hold on to that 13th position. However, Marcy is now looking for a move up the inside. He gets past 3. He gets past clean though. He's going to have quite a recovery drive to do. Janko on the back of Matteo. 0.1 seconds separating the two as they come on down into this left-right. Very close between these two drivers. Janko in the Mercedes. He seems to be very comfortable in that car compared to the Lamborghini. Eric on the back of Jeffrey as well. 0.2 seconds separating these two, as they are in a three-way battle with Michael Curvers just behind as well. He's going to have to drive an exceptional recovery drive like he has done at Mugello and at Monza. And it looks like both drivers going very wide. Will Michael Curvers be able to capitalise on both? He's been forced onto the grass. However, he is sticking around the outside through the long right-hander. He's side by side with Jeffrey. Jeffrey managing to edge out a bit of a lead. Jeffrey managing to hold on to that 9th place. However, Michael did manage to capitalise on Eric's mistake. So really good driving by that Ferrari 488 GT3 driver. Sitting nicely behind Jeffrey in the slipstream. Will he look for a move into turn 1? 0.3 seconds, 0.2 seconds, as it looks like Eric is looking for a dive on Michael. However, doesn't dive too crazy, as he doesn't want to get caught in a collision this early in the race, especially this close to the end of the season, as that's Eric running very wide, managing to keep it out of the gravel. Hines going side by side with Chris Thorpe through the long right-hander. Chris going to have the inside. However, Hines is not backing out there. Side by side down into the second right turn. Hines managing to edge out in the braking zone. So he is now up into P16. He's going to have quite a recovery drive as well. As that's Chris Thorpe off into the wall. That is unfortunate for him. He's been punted down into last place. Marcy on the back of Jamie Fellows. I think he is a new racer to this season. He's in the white Lamborghini. He's in P12. Not bad for his first race here with Core Racing. Marcy looks for a move round the outside into this tight left-hander, managing to brake later and get up in front of Jamie. Michael Curver still on the back of Jeffrey. Eric dropped off slightly after he made a mistake. 0.3 seconds separating these two as they come through the very tight section through the chicane. Gets it nicely through there, through the long right-hander of the final turn. 0.3 seconds separating them, so they're not going to be able to make a dive into turn 1. As that's Hines going side by side with Paul McLeod down the pit straight. Lamborghini going to have the straight line speed. However, the Nissan is not slow in a straight line, so Paul may look for a dive into turn 1. 0.2 seconds separating the two. No, Paul backs out. However, he may come under threat from Costi in P17 after his mistake. Did look for a move up the inside. However, Paul closed the door in his face. Very close racing currently on the racetrack, as that's Costi going slightly wide as we come to Luca and Jeffrey. Luca did look for a dive, however, managing to avoid a collision with the rear of that black McLaren. 0.1 seconds separating these two down into the left-hander. Onto the flick right using all the inside curve. 0.2 seconds as they run up the hill. Luca sitting in P7, 0.4 seconds now behind Jeffrey. Darren Adams managing to gain about a 6-second lead, and he's closing up to the drivers up in front, so he's been driving very well so far. Michael Curvers still looking for a way past Jeffrey. He is very close to the back of that Porsche. Will he look for a move up the inside? He's forced onto the grass again, and he's being forced around the outside. A very long way to go if you try and get past there. You see, very close to the exit, and it looked like an orange Mercedes, which is being driven by Marcy, was right on the grass. So this is now heating up into a 4-car battle. Michael Curvers 0.2 seconds behind Jeffrey in the Porsche. Will he look for a dive into turn 1? The slipstream down this long straight. All these 5-6 drivers looking for it, as it looks like Luca is going side by side with Jeffrey. However, backing out. Janko also catching up to the back of Matteo, your last race winner. Matteo going very wide to the long right hander, and that's contact between the two. Both drivers banged doors. However, Janko is now up in front as we come to Michael Curvers and Jeffrey. Michael Curvers 0.2 seconds separating these two. Marcy on the back of Eric Rotterdink as well. Michael sitting nicely on the rear of the Porsche. 0.3 seconds. Marcy now going to look for a move around the outside of Eric. It's a long way round there. No, he slots in behind that GTR. Coming back to Michael and Jeffrey. 0.5 seconds between these two. Michael catching up really close to the back as they come up the hill. Michael going to have the inside. No, he backs out and allows Jeffrey to get back up into 9th place. 0.2 seconds separating these two. 0.2 between Marcy and Eric. Will Marcy look for a dive into turn 1? No. Martin Palm, he's down in 13. Not the best start by him. However, he is slowly gaining up in the order as this is a 5-car battle, purely battling for 9th place. They come down into the tight section before the last turn through the final chicane. .2 seconds separating these two. As that's Matteo going side by side with Janko. Janko going to have the inside. Matteo sticking around the outside. Great expert driving by these two. However, Matteo is able to get back up into P3. That's Luca going side by side with Jeffrey. Luca managing to get up front. However, he makes a mistake and he goes over the curb, and that allows Jeffrey to get back up into P6. Coming back to Michael Curvers and Jeffrey. Michael right on the back of that Porsche. Will he look for a move around this long right-hander? No, he does not. 0.2 seconds still separating these two. Michael just not being able to get past that Porsche. However, he does look for a dive into that right-hander. However, Jeffrey managing to hold on. Great defensive driving. However, Michael Covers is now stuck his nose up the inside. Jeffrey got the run out of the turn. Marcy now managing to get past Eric. However, has run wide. Will Eric be able to get back past? No, he does not. So that means Marcy is now up into P11 and is going to chase down Michael Curvers in the top 10. 0.1 seconds separating these two as they run up the hill. Unfortunately, the Porsche being driven by Jeffrey seems to be so much better through that right-hander. As you see, these drivers all scattering for road position. Michael now going around the outside of Jeffrey this time. Jeffrey really squeezing him onto the outside. Will Marcy look for a move around the inside? He gets across the curb. Michael managing to hold on. This is a great battle currently for 9th place. Marcy now closing really quickly onto the back of Michael. Michael not being able to get past that Porsche. However, will Marcy be able to get past Michael and hopefully put that Porsche in between the two of them as they come round the final turn to start their 9th lap. Or sorry, to start their 9th lap. As you see, Martin Palm closing it up to the back of Eric. 0.2 seconds now behind in that Z4 on that GTI. He fakes left, goes right, slots in behind. Marcy closing to the back of Michael. Martin on the rear of Eric as well. Eric opting to go for the inside. Martin did look for a move around the outside. As we come to Darren Adams, who's been driving very quickly as these two drivers have been battling. He's caught right up to the back of them, and that's Martin Palm now going side by side with Eric Rotterdink, and he's now up into P12, so that puts Eric down in P13. Michael Covers still not being able to get past that white Porsche, and he is now coming under threat from Marcy behind, so that's not going to make his job any easier. 0.2 as they come up the hill. Michael seems to be so much faster through that section. However, Jeffrey is drastically quicker through that right-hander. However, Michael has managed to get quite an exceptional run. He goes for the racing line. You can just see how much apex he's using on the exit. He's coming across, and bit of contact there between the two as Jeffrey and Michael bang doors, and Marcy's now capitalising, and he's gone right round the outside. Will Jeffrey be able to stick up the inside? Yes, he does. Jeffrey runs slightly wide, so he's down in P12. And that means Marcy is up into P9. And Michael Curvers now coming under threat from Martin Palm. A big jostle of positions. So Marcy's now up into 9th. Michael Curvers still sitting in P10. He has now got pressure from Martin Palm behind. As you see, Hines is actually up into P15, so he's been driving very well. And that's Michael Curvers and Martin Palm going side by side. Martin going around the outside. Michael Curvers managing to hold it. Yes, he does, so he holds on to 10th place. As Jeffrey is now coming under threat from Eric Rotterdink. Eric, a very experienced driver. Jeffrey, fairly new to the season. And to Core, I believe. Eric been racing in Core Racing a very long time. 0.5 seconds between Jeffrey and Eric, so the gaps have started to space out a bit on track. Currently Martin Palm closing in on Michael in P11, as it looks like Michael did make a slight mistake. That has allowed Martin in the Z4 to catch up to the back of that 488. Did look to stick it round the outside. However, Michael is able to hold on. However, he's going to come under threat from the outside. Michael having to go defensive. Martin Palm looking to get the cut back. He's not able to do it, so Michael still holds on to that 10th position. As you can just see how much time they can gain if the cars behind are battling. That's about a second being gained by Marcy over Michael. 0.4 seconds separating Martin and Michael still, as Michael made a mistake, clipped that inside curb. That's allowed Martin to catch up. However, 0.2 seconds separating the two as they come on down into the long pit straight. Martin Palm going to sit tightly in the slipstream. 0.1 seconds separating the two. Michael going defensive. Martin Palm having to go for the outside line. He slots in behind. 0.2 seconds separating these two drivers. 0.3 now as the gap begins to widen. Peo still your race leader. He is sitting comfortably in the lead. He's got about a 2 second gap from your current championship leader of Ross. Matteo in third, with Janko closely behind in the Mercedes, in fourth. Darren Adams in fifth. He's been driving exceptionally. However, with Matteo and Janko no longer battling, it looks like Darren isn't able to close up as closely as he has been doing. However, there is about a straight difference between Jeffrey and Darren, so that has allowed Darren to have a bit of comfortable driving. As you see, Luca in P7, he's been driving very well so far in this race. Itamar Yativ, he's up in P9. Marcy in P10, as it looks like Hines and Jamie are going side by side. Jamie going to have the inside. Hines getting it comfortably round the outside, both in the Lamborghini. Eric Rotterdink looking for a move past Jeffrey. 0.2 seconds separating these two as they come on down into the long right-hander, into the very tight right-hander with a massive sausage curb on the inside. As you can just see, Eric was slightly sideways mid-corner, and that's allowed Jeffrey to gain quite a lead. 0.6 seconds separating Jeffrey and Eric, with about 5 seconds separating Martin Palm and Michael Curvers. Doesn't look like Martin is going to be able to get past. A very intense first 11 laps. We are a third of the race through. Peo still your race leader. So it looks like the battles are starting to widen out now. So it looks like Hines is closing up to the back of Eric. However, Eric will look for a move to put Jeffrey in between him and Hines. As they come on down into the long left-hander, where it's very easy to run wide. 0.4 seconds separating Hines and Eric. 0.5 seconds now, as it looks like Eric is able to close on to the back of Jeffrey. 0.4 seconds separating these two as they come on down into the long run for the tight left-hander. Eric's been having quite a strong season so far, as it looks like he came under threat from Hines behind. Hines nearly colliding into the back of that GTR. Eric on the rear of Jeffrey. 0.3 seconds separating these two as Janko is caught up to Matteo there side by side down into the long pit straight. Janko gonna have the inside. He gets past comfortably in the braking zone. However, he is slightly out of shake on the exit. However, he is passing. Darren Adams has caught right onto the back of Matteo. Will he look for a move as well on that Lamborghini? 0.2 seconds separating these two as they come through the long right-hander. Darren Adams not being able to get past. However, Matteo, has now closed the gap to Janko up in front. 0.4 seconds separating these drivers. As that's Hines now going side by side with Eric. Eric being stuck on the outside. Both drivers really twitching mid-corner. However, Eric is able to get back out in front, so he's up into 13th. And Hines is coming under pressure from Jamie up the inside. Hines managing to get the run out of the corner, which leaves him back in 14th place. As you see, the 3-car battle, all battling for that final podium position. Very big twitches from Janko. He's on the soft tyres, whereas Matteo is on the mediums. Matteo back up the inside, however Janko is not backing out. He's stuck himself up the inside through the chicane. Very good move by Janko. He is back into that podium position. Matteo on the mediums, with Janko and Darren Adams on the soft. A real split of tyre choice here at Barcelona. As you see, these three drivers separated by about 0.5 seconds. Matteo did look for a move. He faked right, he faked left and slotted in behind Janko. 0.6 seconds separating these three drivers. Darren is definitely not one to be counted out. This seems to be a very strong track for him in his Z4. 0.2 seconds between 4th and 5th. Matteo not being able to close the gap enough to Janko to really make a move. As that's a slight mistake from Matteo, he runs slightly wide. Darren not being able to capitalise on Matteo's mistake. 0.6 seconds between Matteo and Janko now, so Janko has got a bit of breathing space behind him. However, he will definitely be able to see that Lamborghini in his rear view mirror. You see the flames being spat out of the side of the Mercedes, as it looked like Matteo did run slightly wide. Darren Adams is going to have the run as they come on down into this tight left-hander. Darren up the inside. Matteo having to stick it around the outside. Darren comfortably up in front, giving Matteo plenty of space, and he is able to get past. Very good move by Darren. So Darren is now into the top 4, and will look to chase down Janko up in front. 1 second separating Janko and Darren Adams. 0.4 between Darren and Matteo. It looked like Matteo did slightly clip the inside curb. 0.2 seconds between the Z4 and the Lamborghini. The Lamborghini going to be very fast in a straight line. Matteo going to look for the inside, which he does, as they come on down into the run, into turn 1. Looks like Matteo has managed to nudge his nose out in front. He's managed to gain enough of a gap where he's comfortably up in front of Darren Adams now, so Darren is back down into the top 5. Really good battling between these drivers. However, it is allowing Janko to gain a lead, which these two drivers will not want, because the longer they battle, the more of a gap Janko can gain. 0.3 seconds between Darren and Matteo. As it looks like these drivers are on their 15th lap. 0.5 seconds still separating Darren Adams and Matteo. This is currently the closest battle on track. We come to Itamar Yativ in the McLaren. He was in an Apex Predator Racing sandwich, however he's now coming under pressure from Marcy. He is about a second behind, so he will definitely not catch up yet. However, he will be definitely right on the rear of that McLaren in the next few laps. If we have a look at last lap times, Marcy was 1.5 seconds faster than Itamar last lap. Marcy is on the softs, whereas Itamar is on the mediums. So Marcy's tyres will definitely be getting worn soon. However, he doesn't seem to be affected in terms of pace as Janko is into the pits. He's obviously feeling his tyres are coming off. So will he go for a double soft stint or will he go for mediums? However, Matteo has now got a clean piece of air in front of him, so he's going to be able to chase Ross down in second. Ross been driving a very conservative race so far. He hasn't been able to close up to Peo, who is your race leader. Peo was about a tenth faster that last lap. Both drivers on the mediums, both in the McLaren. Ross got a race victory to his name. Eric closing onto the back of Hines. Eric in the Nissan GT3, Hines in the Lamborghini Huracan. Definitely going to be a very close between these two. They're both very similar cars to drive. The Lamborghini slightly quicker in a straight line. Michael Curver's now going to pressure Marcy up the inside, however backs out. Wise idea. That's definitely not a place you want to be sticking your car up the inside. Doesn't look for a move through this fast right-hander at the top of the hill. They come on down long straight. Michael still not been able to get past Marcy. He was about 6 tenths faster that last lap. As it looks like Itamar is slowly closing to the back of Luca as Luca's tyres are going off. He's on the softs, whereas Itamar is on the mediums. Michael Curver's behind Marcy. We're going to be seeing a lot of pit stops maybe this lap as we have reached the halfway point of this race. Darren Adams, one of the first ones to come into the pit, as well as Marcy. Both of those drivers diving into the pits, and Luca also diving into the pits. So quite a few drivers opting to stay out actually. So it looks like only 3 drivers have come into the pits so far. Michael Kev's going to have a bit of breathing space to catch up to Itamar, up in 5th place currently. Come to Ross sitting in 2nd. Will he opt to pit now and maybe go for the undercut on Pale, or will he look to get the overcut? I'm not sure. Both drivers on the medium tyres. Actually the top 6 drivers are on the mediums. This is definitely a track where the medium seems to last a little bit too long, where they last just over halfway, and the softs don't last long enough. So it's definitely one for pit stop strategy. As it looks like Darren, Janko, Luca and Marcy all opted to come back out on the soft tyres. So it looks like they are going for a double soft stint. We come to your race leader, Peo Peeve in the McLaren. He's been leading so far every lap. As it looks like Ross has dived into the pits, so he's looking to get the undercut. Paul McLeod now coming out of the pits as well. Will Ross go out on the softs or will he go out on the mediums? His tyres will be up to temp by the end of this lap, where if Peo pits next lap he will be on cold tyres. Matteo into 2nd place. He hasn't pitted yet. Neither has Jeffrey. Michael Curves or Itamar haven't either have, and Martin Palm has dived into the pits. Michael Curves coming onto the back of Itamar Yativ. He was a whole second faster that last lap. Michael Curves really pushing their mediums tyres to their limits. Eric, Hines, Jeffrey and Jamie all jumping into the pits, as well as Costi. So there's still a few drivers who haven't pitted. It does seem like Peo does like to stay out a bit longer on the tyres than most drivers. He seems to favour that overcut. As you see, Luca is up into P9 now after all the pit stops, so I think he may have gained a few positions. I'm not sure. Michael Curvers still behind Itamar Yatif. He will definitely look for a move If not, he may look to jump into the pits to hopefully not be caught in traffic. Point 4 as they coming down into the tight right left-hander. As we come on to Eric on the back of Hines in the Lamborghini. Looks like Hines was able to jump Eric, as Eric was out in front of Hines, I believe. It's been very close between these two, both very similar cars as I said before. 0.4 seconds still between Hines and Eric, as it looks like Matteo and Peo both jump into the pits, Jeffrey being one to stay out. Itamar also jumping into the pits. Michael Curvers staying out. Will Ross be able to get up in front of Peo? Will his undercut have worked? We'll have to see as he comes through the chicane, through the final turn. Where is Peo is the question. He's now coming out of the pit lane, so it looks like Peo is able to stay out in front. However, Ross is going to have the speed down the straight line. He's now coming across the pit, across the finish line. 0.7 seconds separating Peo and Ross currently. However, Peo will be on cold tyres and Ross will be on the nice and warm 1 lap old tyres. And it looks like Peo was actually able to gain a bit of a lead. 5 seconds separating Peo and Ross. As you see, Peo really using all the track to try and get those tyres as quickly up to temperature. Marcy now coming around the outside of Itamar, and Will Martin also look for a move. 0.4 seconds separating Martin and Itamar. Itamar on the cold tyres. As we come to Janko and Matteo. 0.3 seconds between Janko and Matteo. Janko's still not been able to get past that Lamborghini. So it looks like Darren Adams has actually dropped off. He's about 3 seconds behind these two now. So it doesn't look like the best of pit stops by that Apex Predator Racing boys. Martin Palm going side by side with Itamar Yativ. Itamar going to be round the outside. That has allowed Martin to get up into 10th place. He takes that place comfortably. So we come on back to Janko and Matteo. Janko, one of the only drivers in the Mercedes. Thomas Erzen was in the Mercedes as well. However, we saw last week he was in the Lamborghini and he is not here this week, unfortunately. So we will see what he's in for the final races. Janko is looking to get around the outside, and that's contact between the two. Janko spinning it all the way round as he ends up pointing back in the straight line. Matteo also having to spin it around, and that has allowed Darren to get up into 5th place. So it looks like Janko is giving the place back to Matteo. Janko's going quite slow compared to Matteo. That's Michael Curvers now coming out of the pits. Yes, Janko did give the place back to Matteo. Good sportsman-like ship from Janko. Luca in P7. He's got Marcy up behind. Marcy's shown some very good pace. However, Luca is certainly one not to look out for. 0.7 seconds. Between Luca and Marcy. As they come on down into this left-hander. Looks like Marcy was able to really close the gap to the back of that Apex Predator Racing machine. .4 seconds between them now. So it looks like Marcy is now 0.1 seconds there side by side as they come on down into the left-hander. Marcy getting comfortably past. However, Luca does look for the cutback. He is managing to be able to get it done as he's having to cross the curb. Marcy going to have the inside for this long right-hander. Luca having to slot in behind, so he's now into P8. Darren Adams in P4. Will he be able? He should be able to get into 3rd place if once Jeffrey has pitted. 8 seconds between Darren and Ross up in front. So Darren has definitely got some work to do if he's going to gain any positions. You see Matteo and Janko gaining a bit of a gap between those two. Overall pretty spaced out currently on the track with about 12 laps remaining in the race. It's turned out to be a very good race so far in terms of battles. 1.2 between Luca and Marcy. Marcy really on a drive of his life. He's up into P7 now after he made a mistake and was punted right down to the back of the grid. He's been driving quite exceptionally so far. Ross sitting in P3. Jeffrey still hasn't pitted yet, so he will slot in behind Ross at least, and maybe even behind Darren Adams. As we have a look at the timesheet, as it looks, he slowly clipped the sausage curb there. Slowly some mistakes coming out as fatigue starts to play a factor in this race. It's not as much about outright pace as it is about consistency. As we see Ross coming down the pit straight. Ross's teammate Nickel Foggy not here this week, so we'll have to see how that plays into terms of the team standings. Nickel not one to be challenging for the championship, but he will definitely be helping Ross to win the team championship, and with him not here, that will definitely cause a bit of trouble for the Northern Lights Racing boys in terms of the team standings, with I believe Apex Predator Racing in second. Six seconds still separating Ross and Peo. Did look like Ross was slightly faster than Peo that last lap. He managed to gain 2/10. So will Ross be able to close it down in the final few laps? Doesn't look like it currently, as we come to Martin, Palm and Luca. Martin right on the back of Luca now. Luca losing quite a bit of time to Marcy up in front. Martin was about 7/10 faster that last lap. It was in fact 9/10 faster, I believe. Not that it particularly matters, as Martin is closing up definitely on the back of Luca. 0.2 now as they come down into the long straight before the tight left-hander. 0.3 seconds still as Jeffrey has dived into the pits, and as I said, Ross will be able to get past, and so will Darren Adams. Will Matteo be able to get past after their collision between Matteo and Janko? And it looks like Jeffrey is actually out in P3. However, he will come under threat from Darren Adams. Darren on the warmer tyre. However, Jeffrey is on the newer tyre. Darren's tyres are slightly old. As we come to Martin Palm going side by side with Luca, coming down into turn 1. Martin up the inside, Luca round the outside. Luca not backing out. He's managed to hold on to the pace as we're coming back to Darren Adams and Jeffrey. Darren looking for a move up the inside. Not been able to get it done, however he is sticking up the inside. Jeffrey round the outside. He will have the inside for this left-hander. Actually, he will have the racing line, as he's managed to edge out a bit of a gap. Luca and Martin trading places. However, we are focusing on this battle for third place. So it looks like Darren Adams is slotted in behind, and Martin is now looking for a move up the inside of Luca and managing to get it done. So that means Martin is up into P8, and it looks like he's comfortably there as well. As we come to Darren Adams and Jeffrey. Darren really closing up the gap under that braking zone, especially through that mid-corner speed. Darren 0.3 seconds, 0.4 seconds as we come back to Luca coming under threat from Itamar. Looked like Luca may have made a mistake as he's down into P9 and he's come under threat from Itamar as well. He's going to have the inside through the right-hander. He's being squeezed onto the curb. However, managing to hold on. What a great drive by him. Darren Adams now on the back of Jeffrey. 0.1 seconds. Darren having to go round the outside into turn 1. As you see Jeffrey coming across as far as he can to get the best racing line. However, Darren is not backing out. This is door-to-door action. Looked like there was a slight tap between the two. Marcy going side by side with Janko. Janko managing to hold on to P6. As that's Jeffrey unfortunately clipping the rear of Darren Adams, and that's caused him to get onto the grass. Managing to hold it, however. And that may cause these three drivers to come under threat from Matteo, who's looking for a move up in the middle of them. However, Darren and Jeffrey managing to hold on. However, Jeffrey's being caught stuck on the outside, and Matteo is now looking for a move up the inside there, side by side, down into this left-hander. Jeffrey up the inside, and he holds onto 4th place. Janko now coming under threat from Marcy. However, Matteo is not backing out from this Matteo now up the inside of Jeffrey, so he is into the top 4. This is all heating up now, as we have about 9 laps left in the race. Marcy closing onto the back of Janko. 0.2 seconds separating those two. As you see, Janko opting to go for the racing line. Right on the rear of Janko, sorry. Sitting nicely on the rear. You can just see the finesse of these drivers. Great driving by these guys to make sure that there aren't any collisions. You can just see how close he was to the rear of that Mercedes. How he managed to avoid a collision, I do not know. However, it is definitely closing between these 4, 5, 6 drivers, especially those three fighting for 4th place. Or sorry, 5th place. As it looked like Janko was looking for a move on Jeffrey. Marcy looking for a move past Janko as well. Marcy slotting in behind, as well as Janko slotting in behind Jeffrey. So Janko is in a McLaren sandwich currently. You saw a slight bit of front damage to Marcy. I'm not sure when that occurred. However, Jeffrey has run wide. That has allowed Janko to get up the inside. Marcy also looked for a move up the inside. However, that was blocked off by that black and yellow AMG. Janko sticking it round the outside. Jeffrey will have the inside, and that's a slight bit of contact onto the rear of Jeffrey. Janko now going side by side with Marcy. Marcy on the rear of Jeffrey as they come 3 abreast down into this left-hander. However, they all filter back out into a straight line, slightly out of shape for Janko on the exit. Marcy did look for a move, however, did decide to slot in behind. It's all heating up here at Spain. Janko holding the inside and going defensive from Marcy. Marcy now looking for a move up the inside. He gets past nice and cleanly, so that's Marcy now into the top 6. However, this is still a very close battle. As we come to Michael Covers now coming onto the back of Itamar Yativ. Michael having to drive a recovery drive. Will he be able to make it a top 10? He's got Luca just up in front. Luca managing to hold on to Itamar behind him. Itamar on the medium tyres. Michael and Luca on the softs. As they come down the pit straight. Will Martin Palm look for a move? Will Michael Curvers look for a move? Luca seemed to be coming close to the right hand side of the road. Not sure why. As it looks like Michael Curvers is looking for a move up the inside of Itamar. Gets past nice and cleanly. He says thank you. However, he is very sideways on the exit, managing to hold it. Great driving by him as we come to, and that's Marcy off into the wall. That's a huge collision for him, as allowed Janko to get back up into P6, and Martin Palm is on the back of Janko as well. Jeffrey managing to gain a bit of a breathing space. 0.1 seconds now. Martin Palm looking for a move around the outside. No, he doesn't, as that's a disqualification for Marcy after that collision with a wall, that's caused his damage to be too much for him to carry on. Martin Palm, 0.3 seconds behind Janko. Janko in the Mercedes. See flames coming out of both sides. 1.1 between Janko and Jeffrey up in front. Martin closing in very quickly under the brakes. 0.4 seconds still between these two drivers. You see some of the top drivers in this league. You can just see how close these drivers can get without causing a collision. You definitely won't see this in many other leagues apart from Core. We are down to 17 races, with Marcy being one of the only disqualifications. As Martin Palmer is now looking for a move up the inside, he backs out however. 0.4 between Janko and Martin. Come nicely through this long right-hander. Ross still sitting in second with Perry, still your race leader. As you can see, Ross is just in the distance as we come to Michael Covers, closing up to the back of Luca. 0.3 seconds separating these two. Luca last lapped at 1:49, Michael Covers at 1:48.2, and he was battling with Itamar last lap. 6 laps remaining left in this race. 6 laps for Payo to hold on to his lead. He has got quite a sizable gap to Ross behind, who is in second place. Seven seconds still as we hop on board with Payo for a lap. As he comes down long straight, I'll let you really hear this engine go to work. Gets it nicely through turns 1 and 2. You did see him slightly fight the car as he comes through the long right-hander. 5 laps left of the race. Michael Curvers closing up to the back of Luca. As you can just see how close these two drivers are. 0.2 seconds separating the two. It's really not that big of a distance. About a car and a half length between them. Michael Curvers, you can really see how much the slipstream plays a factor in terms of high speed, and he does back out, which allows Luca to hold on to his position. The Mercedes AMG being driven by Janko, one of my favourite sounding cars in the league. Unfortunately, not a lot of drivers using it, a lot of them opting for the McLaren. This Mercedes does really sound like a beast of a car. You can just see the flames coming out of Jeffrey's car. Janko right on the rear of Jeffrey. Will he look for a run down this long straight? No, Jeffrey is able to hold on. Martin Palm closing on to the back of Janko. They're side by side down into this tight left-hander. Janko managing to hold on, using a lot of curb and running slightly wide. He goes defensive into this left-hander. Martin Palm did look to the inside, however had to back out as Janko came across. Janko holding on to 6th place. He was closing to the back of Jeffrey, however he has come under threat from Martin behind, as Payo has just 4 laps left of the race. As you see Matteo closing up to the back of Darren Adams actually. Matteo lapped about a tenth faster that last lap. If he's able to do it, he will really close up the gap. However, he won't be able to get close enough to make a move. 0.8 seconds between Matteo and Darren Adams. Janko closing up to the back of Jeffrey again. Janko seems to be very close, very quick between that first sector. 0.3 between Janko and Jeffrey. As it looked like Martin was looking for a move on Janko. Janko managing to hold on. 3-car battle here for the top 5 finish. Janko holding on to 6th place. Point 1 now as they come down side by side down into this bottom of the hill before the run up. Martin Palm up the inside of Janko as well. Janko is not backing out, neither is Martin Palm up the inside. Janko holding on to his 6th place. Both these drivers really close between each other. Just 0.6 seconds separating 5th and 7th place. This track has certainly been one to show some close battles. Janko on the back of Jeffrey still, not being able to get past that black and orange McLaren. Michael Curve is not able to get past the Apex Predator Racing Z4 being driven by Luca either. 0.2 between Michael and Luca. As I believe Michael will be looking to make a move soon. He won't be able to catch up to 7th place, so he will only be able to make it an 8th place finish at best. As Matthew is now going side by side with Darren Adams. Darren going defensive up the inside. They are side by side, however. Matthew is now past Darren, so he's up into the top 3. However, Darren Adams is not backing out. He's stuck his nose up the inside. However, Matthew has got the pace round the outside. However, Darren is not backing out. They are side by side down into turn 4. Matthew out in front. He's up into 3rd place now, so he grabs the final podium spot. However, it will certainly be close between these two as Martin now going around the outside of Janko. Janko holding on nicely to that 6th place. As the battles start to close up, Michael Curvers onto the back of Luca there, side by side down into the right-hander. Slight twitch by Michael that has allowed Luca to get up in front. Will Michael now come under threat from Itamar? No, he does not. Very close between these. Another twitch from Michael. That car seems to be very unstable at the corners. He seems to be really fighting that car, as well as being in that dirty air, and tyre temperatures and wear has may be becoming a factor, and that may be a cause to his twitchiness. As you see, Michael Curvers now looking to get up the inside of Luca. Luca still holding on to that 8th place. Great defensive drive by him. Michael right on the rear of that Apex Predator Z4. Michael on the rear of Z4, slightly sideways mid-corner there for Luca. However, holds it and looks comfortable at the same time. 0.4 between these two as Eric is up into P12 now. However, we are focusing on this 3-way battle for 8th place. Saying that, we now come to Janko and Martin Palm. Martin up the inside, slight tap of the doors between the two, causing Janko to go across the curbs. However, that means Martin is now up into P6. Michael Curve is unfortunately spinning it. That's unfortunate for him. He has been dropped down. He's now into P10. And even into P11, being overtaken by Hines, who now takes the last top 10 finish. 0.4 between Janko and Martin. As it did look like Itamar did catch up to the back of Luca, and he's gone for a big dive, and that's a huge collision between the two. Itamar slightly out-braking himself and crashing into the side of that Z4. Those boys aren't going to be happy having to replace yet another body panel. Darren Adams in P4. He's definitely battling Matteo up in front with only a couple more laps left remaining of this race. It's certainly heating up here in the final few laps. Itamar going looking for a move up the inside of Luca. However, Luca holding on. You see Pero coming through the long right-hander. He's led so far all race, and he still looks comfortable in the lead. Itamar now on the back of Luca, nearly colliding with the back of the Z4 again. However, managing to avoid a collision this time. It as the drivers have slightly spaced out after that quick blast of a battle. Point 3 between Itamar and Luca. McLaren not the fastest in the straight line, and that was a very sideways moment for Michael. How he held that, I do not know. Itamar now on the rear of Luca. Luca didn't have the best of last laps. He lapped in a 150 last lap. However, Itamar is looking for a move around the inside. Itamar having to slide in behind. Did slightly look for a move into this right-hander. He sticks his nose in. Can he make it done? A little bit of a twitch mid-corner. Luca did dip a wheel. It's a long way for Itamar to go around the outside. Slight bit of a twitch again on the exit by Luca. Itamar now looking for a river up the inside. He sticks his nose in. Decides to back out as Perrin now comes on to his final lap. However, we are focusing on this battle for 8th position between Itamar and Luca Peclet. Very close between these drivers. They have a lap and a half really to do it. Lap and a quarter. As it's a mistake by Luca, that has cost him 8th position and forced him to go wide. That has allowed Itamar to get up a position. Luca will certainly not back out after making a mistake. As they come through the final chicane, Luca losing a bit of time to Itamar already. About 0.7 seconds separating the two. Coming down the long pit straight. Will Luca be able to make it back into 8th position? Peo, your race leader. He's led so far for the 32 laps. He's only got one more sector to complete before the race victory is his. We will ride with him, watching him through the final few turns through the long right-hander. Down into the right corner. Making sure he doesn't clip that sausage curb, taking it nice and easy. As he only has the chicane to go. The final turn, and this will be his race victory here at Barcelona. He gets through nice and cleanly. Peo, your race leader, he's led all the way through, and he takes the lead comfortably. Ross coming through the final turn. He's been in second all the race, and he finishes in second. Matteo rounding up the podium. However, Darren is not that far behind. If Matteo makes a mistake in these final corners, Darren would certainly capitalise. He gets it nice and smooth through there, and that means Matteo rounds off the podium. Very close battle between all of these. Matteo in third, Darren Adams in fourth. Martin Palm coming through the final turn. He's in fifth. Jeffrey in sixth, with Janko in seventh. A little bit out of shake on the exit there. Itamar in 8th after overtaking Luca last lap. Luca looks like he has sustained quite a bit of damage. That's unfortunate for him. Hines rounding up the top 10. And that's very sideways for him on the exit. That is unfortunate for him. That has allowed Hines to gain into P9 and Luca to actually round off the top 10. That is unfortunate for him. Eric Rotterdink in P11 with Michael Curvers in P12. Costi in P13 with Jamie, his debut race, in 14th. Chris Thorpe in 15th and Paul McLeod in 16th. So overall a really good race here at Barcelona. We will go to a quick advert break and see whether we are able to catch any drivers in the pit lane for a quick interview. So we have managed to grab second place finisher of Ross McFarlane. He finished second in the race. Ross, how did you find that race?
Hello. That was a fairly uneventful race for myself, but it was just lap after lap behind Pale. Didn't really have much opportunity to catch up with them, but I did see a lot of position swapping behind on my little leaderboard. So I wonder what happened there.
Yeah, it was certainly a very interesting race, definitely one to watch. With your teammate Nickel not being here, how do you find the team standings will fare? With the Flying Dutchman only just about 24 points behind.
I think it will be pretty close after that. I know Michael didn't look to have a brilliant race, and Jeffrey was not in the podium, so it might be very close. They could have taken the lead.
Yeah, definitely Michael not been having the best of luck so far over the last few weeks. A podium seems to be a very common occurrence for you. Will you be able to make it another race win?
Hopefully. Brands Hatch is a pretty compact circuit, not one for a Lamborghini or anything, so hopefully the McLaren will shine and we'll get a chance at another win.
Yeah, the McLaren definitely seems to be one of the cars to pick, as a lot of drivers have been opting to drive that car so far in the season. You're currently sitting the leader of their championship standings, with Martin Palm just behind, just about 30 points behind. Do you see him being able to overtake you in the final round at Brands Hatch?
I would need to look at the scores after this race, but I mean I'm definitely going to be there. I'm definitely going to try my best and see what the result is after all of that.
Alright, thank you very much. Congratulations on your podium.
Thank you.
So as you saw there, really good race by Ross. He seems to be very consistent on getting those podiums. Hopefully we'll be able to grab the race leader of Peo. We will have to cut to a short advert break before we can confirm anything. So instead of grabbing Peo, we have managed to grab Darren Adams instead. Darren finishing fourth in the race. Darren, how did you find the race?
Good fun, very good race. Started 10th, and I think a couple of people went off in the early laps in front of me, so I somehow moved up to 6th or 7th or something, and then I was chasing Jeffrey and Matteo while they were fighting. Oh no, Yanko and Matteo. I had to get past Jeffrey first. I think he maybe was running mediums, so
I believe he was.
I was able to pass him and gap him then, and then I was just closing in on Matteo and Yanko while they were fighting. So that was keeping me in it, and then they touched either just before the pits or just after, so I got into third place, which starting from 10th I was thinking this is going to be a great finish if I can hang on to this. But then me and Jeffrey pitted late, came out right next to me. We had a bit of an argument through one of the turns, and we got a bit close, and there was a touch, and Jeffrey waited for me, but that allowed Matteo to catch both of us up. So then there was another big scrap going on. Probably four of us at that point could have taken third, depending on how it worked out. And then Matteo was just too fast for me. Somehow he managed to be a bit faster in the second stint than he was at the end of the first stint, so I just couldn't do anything about him.
Yeah, it was definitely a close race. One of your best finishes so far in the season, I believe.
When I was in third, have I had a podium before? And I'm not sure that I have.
I'm not sure in this race, in this season so far. No, you haven't had a podium yet. You were so close this week. Hopefully next week you'll be able to make it one at Brands Hatch.
But should have had it here, really. It's a shame. I'm not going to get too many opportunities to get a podium in this series.
Yeah, it definitely
That's the one
seemed.
that came and went.
It definitely seemed one of your strong tracks. Do you see Barcelona, I can think of the place, as one of your strongest tracks?
It as being a strong track for me in the past, but yeah, I think the combination of me and the BMW worked quite well this week at Barcelona. I could see in practice that I was doing reasonably well for the BMW drivers. And then I was quicker than Martin Palm, which is a good sign because he's always quick. So, yeah, it was good. But I still only qualified in 10th, so wasn't really much different on overall pace than at other rounds. But things went better for me and I moved up.
Yeah, it was definitely a good race. Well, thank you for your interview. Well, thank you for letting me interview you, I
hope
should
it was
say.
a good one.
Thank you very much. So as you heard there, Darren Adams, very good race by him. He got up into 4th place from 10th on the grid. Massive change of positions in terms of qualifying to race results from us in the commentary box. From Barcelona, we will see you next week at Brands Hatch. Goodbye.